This video is brought to you by Amber. Amber keeps your EV on the road longer, offering seamless protection with no long-term contracts or upfront costs. Learn more at the link in the description and use code SPEC5 for 5% off. Howdy folks, welcome back to another Out of Spec Renew video, and today I am showing you my newest project. I know, I need another project like I need a hole in the head, but this right here is kind of a rare, quirky piece of electric automotive history. It's a 1998 Solectria Force. But anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and take a closer look at this thing. So, as I mentioned there in the intro, this is a 1998 Solectria Force. Now, Solectria was a company that was started to kind of develop some industrial equipment, but they also did several different electric vehicles. The most common of which would have been this car right here, the Solectria Force. They built about 400 of them between, I think, about 1991 to 1999 on both different generations of the Geo Metro platforms. This car is basically a second generation Geo Metro. The first generation ones, I think they offered both in the 2-door and 4-door configurations, although most of the ones I've ever seen are just the 2-door versions. When they went to the second gen platform like this, I think that they were all the 4-door sedan version like this. I do actually have the front bumper here. The reason that this is missing is because I actually flat towed this car all the way back from Utah. So if you want to check that out, make sure to take a peek at the Out of Spec Motoring channel, where hopefully that should be going up sometime in the near future. But actually, the day that I picked this up, the car actually came with the tow bar, but it wasn't attached. So I went ahead and got it all bolted up here. And that fit perfectly. I did have to get my own hardware because it didn't have any of the mounting hardware, but everything else was here. The front bumper I removed. I may or may not remove the tow bar system before I put the bumper on. I didn't put the bumper back on because it would have required cutting out the grills in here, which probably isn't really a big loss, but I didn't really want to do that because A, I didn't have the proper tools, and I wasn't 100% certain that I really wanted to do that yet at this time. But yeah, essentially this whole mechanism unpins from these two receivers here, and then with the bumper on, it would look mostly stock. You'd just have the two square receivers sticking out, probably just about flush about with the front edge of the bumper there. But bits about this car. So this car has a pretty interesting history. As you can see, it's not in the cleanest of shape by any stretch. You can see it's got a lot of little dents and stuff all over. This car was actually in a hailstorm, and once upon a time, it actually had a solar array mounted to it. I'll see if maybe we can get a picture in the video here of what that looked like, but essentially, it had a framework that was attached, and you can see someone's sort of sloppily patched up the holes where it used to be attached, but it had 4 mounting points on the roof, 1 on each corner, and then a couple of mounting points back here on the quarter panels. And that solar array was actually destroyed in the hailstorm that caused the other hail damage you see here. All of the dents and, of course, the busted windshield here. Don't know how... Oh, there we go. That's the bad part right there. Inside, it looks largely just like a Geo Metro, but with a few things different. So we have no shifter. Instead, we just have a selector knob for reverse, as well as 3 different drive modes. And then, we've got our handbrake, we've got brake and throttle. And as far as instrumentation goes, we have a speedometer and this amp hour meter back here. And then it also has this voltmeter, which is not actually factory original. They did have an original version that was available as an option, but this was actually added on later, based on some receipts and stuff that I found, which I don't know why they mounted it there because it blocks the amp hour meter, so that's a little bit annoying. In addition, the car came with tons documentation, not just for the Solectria Force, but also just tons of, EV conversion related books and stuff. We'll see if we can hop back there to take a peek at that stuff a little bit closer. But as you can see here, we have a service manual for this car. We also have the owner's manual. And then this binder has a bunch of receipts and stuff, including for lithium-ion batteries, specifically lithium iron phosphate is what it had, as well as just a bunch of other work that it had performed just at, small repair shops. Stuff like our amp hour gauge. There's that voltmeter gauge that was put in. CV axles, test battery pack. Alignments. Just all sorts of service history. It's pretty cool that it has all of this documentation for it. But yeah, so we've got all that stuff. We've also got a binder with a bunch of other miscellaneous documentation for, looks like that's a receipt. Just documentation on, like this is how inverters work, or a Brusa user manual, which, so that would be inductive charging. Interesting. So we just have all sorts of different things here. What is this one? Don't know what this is, but this is Prius stuff. So yeah, just some random things here. There is a cool flyer, not for a Solectria Force, but this is actually for battery automated transportation. Never heard of that one before, but it's another electric Geo Metro. Some other interesting stuff here, and I did notice at the back of this book there's a few different, that's just a printout of Impact 3. Oh, so that's even pre EV1. That's actually the Impact prototype, Impact 3 specifically. And then that is, so this is actually the original. That other one's just a photocopy. That's pretty sweet. Anyway, so that's that stuff. And then just some other miscellaneous books. We do have more service manuals for multiple different years of Solectria Force. So that's a 1997, 1994 electric vehicle components. Oh, so this is just kind of a catalog of different components that Solectria built. So you've got your brushless motors and controllers, gearboxes and motors, battery chargers, all sorts of interesting stuff. 1999 owner's and service manual. And then we also have just the general Geo Metro service manuals. That is quite a lot of books. And then, books on electric conversion related stuff. More books and binders in there. And then in addition, we also have some extra parts here. So this right here is actually a test box for the motor controller. I imagine that's probably a pretty hard thing to find. The previous owner of this car had actually found it on eBay and purchased that. And then in here we actually have, this is the center console for the first generation Solectria Force. So this would be the first generation Geo body. We also have the horn cover for one of those as well, which really is, I'm sure this is just a little printed thing that's stuck over the center. And then this is a motor mount and a belt, which go to a motor and gearbox. Let me move these out of the way, which I have in the trunk. So this guy actually had a gas Geo Metro that he had bought a first-generation Solectria motor and gearbox for, and he had actually gotten them mounted in the car and then never really did anything else with it. The car was literally just a rusty shell. And when I say shell, I mean literally a shell. No interior, no doors, no fenders or hood, no bumpers, literally just a rolling shell with a motor and gearbox in it. So we went ahead and got these pulled out and found a new home for the shell. And as you can see, I've also got some spare tires and a whole bunch of spare rims here in the bottom. But this is actually the rear battery box in the sub-trunk area. You can see how they modified. They would have cut out the floor and then bolted this in. And you can see here we actually have a battery management system. This would have been for the lithium iron phosphate batteries that were previously swapped into this car at one time, but have since been removed, of course. If we take a peek under the hood, which I believe I already have unlatched, there's our Solectria badge. Here you can see our complete drivetrain. Let me go ahead and get the hood prop on here and we'll take a closer look. So under the hood here, we've got our traction motor, and then this is the traction inverter. So you've got the 3 cables going from the inverter to the motor, and it's got sort of this little ground shielding thing. For transport, I actually unplugged this. It just has connectors underneath this shield. I can't really unzip that one-handed, but it basically just has a triple wide Anderson connector that you can unplug. So I did unplug the motor for transport. Not really necessary because this is an induction motor, so it can free spin with no issues, but I unplugged that just to be safe. Over here we actually have air conditioning run by its own separate little actually brushed motor and a little belt drive, and it actually has its own motor controller right there. What else do we have on here? We've got our DC to DC converter, we've got our vacuum pump for the brakes, and then below all of this stuff, this is actually a secondary battery box. So this car originally from the factory came with 13 12-volt lead-acid deep cycle batteries. I believe 5 of them went up here in the front, and then the other 8 went in the trunk. I'm pretty sure that's the arrangement, if I remember right off the top of my head. But yeah, that pretty much does it for all of the powertrain stuff here. As far as the goals for this car, the goal is obviously to try and get it running again. Supposedly, this car was parked, and it's been through a myriad of different owners. I've kind of tried to track down as much history for this car as I can. From what I can tell, it looks like it originally spent most of its life in the Los Angeles area. In fact, on the rear bumper here, it's got a parking permit. Actually, multiple parking permits all stacked on top of each other. I bet if you dug back there, you could find whatever the oldest sticker was. And of course, in the old pictures I found of it with the solar array, most of those pictures were with California plates, where I think it was EVPV was the license plate on there. And then I also found pictures of it in Oklahoma, which is also where it encountered the major hail damage that this car has. From what I understand, the owner in Oklahoma left this car parked for a long period of time, and it ended up basically just bricking the lithium iron phosphate batteries. And I think I know the reason for that, and that would be that this car does not actually have a 12-volt battery. It simply relies on the DC to DC converter being live essentially all of the time. So if the car sits for too long, it will literally just over discharge and brick itself. I don't think that it has any logic built in to prevent that from happening. So yeah, that's essentially that issue there. As far as getting it running, in theory, hopefully all that it really needs is just batteries. And to test that theory out, I actually have this battery pack right here, which I picked up on Facebook Marketplace for $50, believe it or not. But this is actually the battery pack out of a Ford C-Max Energy plug-in hybrid. It's not a lot of capacity, but they are very high C-rate discharge cells that should be able to easily support the power output that thing requires, which is only 42 kilowatts peak, by the way. But if I reconfigure these modules, there's 4 modules in here. Each one is 21S. That car runs on a 156 volt nominal system. I think the maximum that the components under the hood are nameplate rated for is 190 volts. So if we stick 2 of those modules together, that should be a pretty decent voltage to get this car to run. And I suppose we could take the other 2 and put them in parallel. So we could get just a baseline pack to put in this thing to see if it works. But to see that, you're going to have to wait for a future video because, as you can see, I have a bit of a full shop here at the moment, and I've got a lot of things that need to get worked on. So I probably won't get to this for at least a week or 2, I think. But anyways, if you want to see more on this thing, be sure to stay tuned, hit the subscribe button. And of course, in the meantime, we have all of the other repair content stuff going on here as well. I've got a few interesting projects coming into the shop this week, I think. So we should have plenty of content coming in. And as always, thanks for watching.